guys, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome to Closing the Kitchen. If today's message speaks to you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you know someone who needs a little faith and encouragement, go ahead and hit that share button. In today's video, we're diving into how our lives can sometimes reflect that of Jonah's decision to run from God and to break free from that cycle of shame and start filling up again. If you're ready to find some balance, grab a seat, take a breath, and let's get into it. Have you lost your connection with God? Do you feel ashamed? Almost as if He's upset with you? You reach for distractions like TV, music, social media, hoping they'll fill the silence, ease the weight. But no matter how much you scroll, it doesn't touch the ache. You're unmotivated, stuck, watching time slip through your fingers. And deep inside, you know there's more. You know God has called you to something greater. But fear creeps in. Fear of failing, fear of growing tired, or maybe just the fear of surrender. Because part of you still wants to be in control, to run your own life. But your heart aches because you can feel it. You're the one standing in the way of your next blessing. So what's holding you back? The lack of prayer? The lack of time in the Word? The lack of connection to the one who gives life? That was us, me and my husband. We fell off. We drifted from God. And instead of serving Him, we started serving each other. But here's the truth. We're human, imperfect. Trying to serve someone else when you're not rooted in God leads to disappointment because we were never meant to be each other's source. I tried to pour into my husband without being poured into first. And when he didn't meet needs only God can fill, I felt let down. Not because he failed me, but because I asked him to be something he could never be. It's like trying to charge a phone with another phone that's also out of battery. We both unplugged ourselves from the true power source, God, and started trying to power each other. But because we're human and imperfect, we both ran dry. Serving each other without first being filled by Him left us drained, frustrated, and disconnected. We were never meant to be each other's source, only reflections of His love. Charged by Him and then able to love and serve each other in strength, not in lack. This season, the one you might be walking through, the weariness, the wandering, the aching silence in your soul, it reminds me of Jonah. He ran, not out of confusion, but out of defiance. He knew what God asked of him and still said no. Why? Because like so many of us, he wanted control. He wanted to write his own story, use his gifts on his own terms. Does this sound familiar? Yes, we run too. We run from purpose, from obedience, from the quiet whisper of God's voice that calls us deeper. And when we do, things start to unravel. Depression creeps in. Anxiety tightens its grip. Motivation disappears and the days begin to blur. Suddenly, life feels heavy, and nothing, not success, not scrolling, not survival, feels like enough. Sometimes it takes hitting rock bottom. Sometimes we have to be swallowed whole by the consequences of our own resistance before we finally throw our hands up and say, "Okay, God, I'm done running." But here's the truth. It doesn't have to get that far. We don't have to wait until we're broken and swallowed to return to the one who has been chasing us all along. Because even in our rebellion, even in our pride, God is merciful. He waits, He pursues, and when we stop running, when we turn around, He meets us with open arms. I know this deeply because I've lived it. Not too long ago, I was that lost, broken teenage girl, searching for anything to fill the hole in my heart. Relationships, approval, distraction, but nothing ever satisfied. He came in gently, yet powerfully, and swooped me up. Not when I was put together, but when I was at my worst. And now I see I owe him everything, not just my praise, but my life. Because he didn't just save me, he found me. I want to be completely transparent, because when God brings you through something, you're called to share it. Much like Jonah, my husband and I ran from the calling God placed on our lives. We were both gifted, called, and chosen, but we slowly began to neglect our relationship with him. And in the quiet spaces that were meant for worship and connection, we filled them with distraction and distance instead. Eventually, shame took root, not all at once, but subtly, through doubt, disobedience, selfishness. As scripture says, a little leaven leavens the whole lump, Galatians 5 verse 9. Shame convinced us that not only had God turned his back on us, but that we were too far gone to turn back to him. And as we drifted from God, we began to drift from each other. And our marriage suffered. We hurt each other, not just with words, but with distance, bitterness, and blame. We fought with our defenses up and our knives drawn, never pausing to look inward, never taking full accountability for our own part in the pain. I grew bitter and angry. My husband became shut off. Jonah 1 verse 17. Now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah. And Jonah was in the stomach of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. The gifts and callings God placed in us were left unused, buried beneath the wreckage of resentment. We were in the belly of the fish, sitting in the darkness of our consequences, wondering if this was the end. One ordinary morning, in the middle of a routine, I sat down and whispered a desperate prayer. God, please help us, because I don't know what to do anymore. What I didn't know was that at that very moment in another room, my husband was praying the same thing. That was the turning point. That was when the shift began. Jonah 2, verse 1 through 2. Then Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from the stomach of the fish and said, I called out of my trouble and distress to the Lord, and he answered me. Out of the belly of Sheol I cried for help, and you heard my voice. We didn't see instant restoration, but we did feel something crack open. A light began to break through the darkness. Not because we figured it all out, but because we turned back to the one who could. Here's the truth. Your relationship with God doesn't have to reach the belly of the fish before you decide to turn around. You don't have to wait until you're drowning in brokenness to call out to God. Change the pattern, break the cycle, pray endlessly. So today, if you feel far from God, if you're running, stop. Take a breath. You don't have to earn your way back. Just turn around. He's right where you left him.